Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar, Using Technology to Overcome the Challenges of International Programs. I'm Jillian Gunning. I'm the head of Global International Program Strategy here at Swiss Re Corporate Solutions. Today you'll be hearing from Will Porter, the Deal Architect for International Programs in North America. He's joined us to support our growth into complex international programs. And we'll go ahead and share more details about his role later on in our presentation. You'll also hear from Greg Steele, Global Claims Lead for International Programs, who has over 30 years in the industry and 20 of that in claims management. So before we get started, a few logistical details. To make sure that everyone can hear the speakers, we have muted all of the participants, but as you can imagine, we are still working remotely, so please bear with us if we have any technical difficulties. We do want this to be interactive, so please ask us questions. Just type your question in the box at the bottom left-hand side of your screen at any point during the presentation, and I'll go ahead and read them out during the Q&A session at the end. If you happen to experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please do what we call a force refresh. You can do so by hitting Control plus F5. And you can do that without leaving the On24 platform. Again, that's Control plus F5. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. At the registration, we asked you, what is the first word that comes to mind when you think of international programs? We were pleased with the engagement here right on the onset. We had an excellent response rate, so thank you for that. And we created this word cloud to show the results. Unsurprisingly, we see complex right there in the middle, complexity, complicated. You see complex peppered throughout there as it was used in other sentences in various forms and formats. And every seemingly iteration of difficult we see as a response for international programs. And of course, that's because international programs are inherently difficult. And we understand that, which is why today we will discuss the many ways to overcome those difficulties, including the robust use of technology. At Swiss Re, we have built solutions step by step over time, taking seriously the time and effort that it takes to build something that is truly exceptional, and ensuring that we perfected our offering along this journey. So let's briefly talk about how we approach that journey and where we're at today. Swiss Re Corporate Solutions' international journey began with the formalization of Swiss Re's separate commercial insurance business, hopefully known to all of you on the phone, which is called Corporate Solutions, the part that we are all here today to talk about. In 2013, we officially launched the initiative to move into primary insurance, and the focus of this initiative was to establish domestic primary insurance as part of our core offering across the globe and lines of business, and then to ultimately harness that global core competency to become the lead carrier for international programs. So thus began our international business journey, really in earnest, initially focusing on property in the US and property and casualty in EMEA. At that point, we engaged in tactical partnerships in order to use their established networks while we built our own. What that did was allow us to focus on the build out of the supporting technology while we grew our knowledge and expertise writing more straightforward international programs. Then in 2019, after much hard work, we were able to launch our own network and our own proprietary technology platform to lead international programs. And as we'll discuss further today, we were able to seamlessly integrate our platform using state-of-the-art technology because of our lack of legacy systems. We built that from the ground up. This integration and the agility that accompanies the latest in technology really does allow us to use and reduce any friction that's inherent in international programs. So today we produce property, casualty, and D&O business in Swiss Re offices across 13 countries. We have a network of owned offices and insurance partners covering 150 plus countries and growing day by day. We continue to write larger and more complex fronted programs, and as of 2020, we have started writing captive fronted business. As markets around the world increase their regulatory requirements, understanding local nuances and offering coordinated, compliant solutions to our clients is absolutely critical. And as you can see through our journey, we've transformed our capabilities to become a global lead insurer that can be relied on. We've developed brand new systems, digital platforms, processes, and servicing capabilities that are purpose-built to meet our clients' ever-evolving needs and to remain in control of the all-important data exchange between all parties. It's our intention to continue to iterate on our international program solution building in order to solve the challenges of our customers step by step. As I mentioned, network capabilities are a cornerstone of international programs. As I mentioned in our journey, we have built a network that is getting stronger and broader year on year. Swiss Re Corporate Solutions has owned offices in 20+ countries, which currently service roughly 80% of customers with international exposures. We also have international insurance partners in 130 additional countries, which brings our overall network to 150 countries today, as I mentioned. By the end of 2020, our goal is to have 180 countries covered. We, of course, are rigorous in how we select our partners, collaborating only with insurers who meet our 3 key selection criteria: operational capability, of course, local credibility with brokers and customers, and financial stability, looking at the rating of independent agencies wherever applicable, and brokers, of course, in addition to our own financial due diligence. We then connect with all of our partners through our platform to reduce what we call communication ping pong, and we also leverage our proprietary network, which we'll talk about a little bit later in something called the Network Partner Portal, which we'll be able to give a little bit more detail in Will's section. So customers are already benefiting from our global presence, our network partners, our world-class technology, and a high level of personal service. We're leveraging those strengths, and we have built a growing portfolio of increasingly complex customers. Here we've provided a few anonymized examples of customers that we're supporting today to give you an idea of the range of solutions that are available. Perhaps you even recognize yourself up there. I know we've got a few customers that are on the line. Working left to right, you can see that customer A has a single carrier program, meaning that Swiss Re Corporate Solution retains 100% of that program with no reinsurance behind it. This program has a large list of local policies, however, so balancing out that 100% more straightforward deal, we do have the rigor around the local policy and invoice issuance. And you can see that this customer has been with us for several years. The next customer has only 3 local policies, but is supported by a very complex reinsurance structure, which actually varies in each of those 3 countries, one of which is Brazil, which is a notoriously difficult territory. So in this example, although there are only local policies in 3 countries, this is more complex than what we would see in customer A's scenario because of the reinsurance and because of the difficulties in the territories where the local policies are placed. And finally, you can see on the very right, the last customer shows our abilities to support a captive fronted program. This customer has an average number of local policies, coming in around 20, including what we call freedom of service or FOS policy in our European territories. But it does add another layer of complexity with not only the captive, we have a fronted master, which means the master in and of itself is also being fronted for the captive and the panel, as well as large local limits, all of which add to that complexity. So as you can see, our customer profile really does mirror our structure and our journey. We have cut our teeth on straightforward deals as we've continued to grow our network and our knowledge, and now that we've matured, we're taking on larger and more complex deals, ensuring that where we are at now is exactly where we want to be. So as we take on more complex customers, we continue to grow our most critical assets, which of course are our people. Here you can see the structure that we've built aligning customer complexity with the support levels. The deal architect, in this case for North America, is Will Porter, and you'll hear from him very soon. That deal architect is the glue that binds together solutions for our most complex customers there at the top of that triangle. Will is involved on accounts that require custom handling. He is an integral part of my team, and he's on the ground, listening to our brokers and customers, ensuring that we close that feedback loop as we continue to build out our technology specifically around our customer and brokers' needs. As we have built out our capabilities, we have seen all manner of structure and international exposures. Will's going to take us through some of the most common questions that we ask as we build out international programs. And then, of course, we'll share some details on the technology that underpins those programs. Will.
Thanks, Jillian. Appreciate that introduction and your comments on our journey so far. So as Jillian discussed just a couple slides ago, we looked at the different kinds of customers that we work with in the first part of this year as we were putting today's presentation together. And what jumped out at me is how any technology that we put in place, and that's the theme of today's webinar and really the theme of how we try to approach our international program business in general, is making sure that any technological solution that we put in place is scalable and it can be applied to any of the customers that come to us looking for an international program solution. And as I thought about the customers that Jillian had mentioned and I thought about the customers we work with, I looked at the range of customers and the exposures and the complexities that we have in our portfolio now and as we work to build that portfolio out, and realize that the same questions are underpinning everything that is done in structuring a global program and the approach that we take. And it's going to hold true across the entire scope of the global programs. There's always going to be challenges to solve, but the basic questions that carriers, brokers, and clients should be asking of themselves and of their partners remain the same. And you see those at the top. What are the exposures? Where do we require local policies? How are claims going to be paid? What's the quality of the risk? What's the reinsurance structure? And the others that are listed there. Those are going to apply regardless of the size of the customer, regardless of how many local policies there are. And we have to make sure as a carrier that any solutions that we're building and any platforms that we put together to share with you as our brokers and our clients are appropriate and not just for one section of that client base. So the appropriate use of our technology, it can help overcome those challenges. It can help a smaller company who's just expanding internationally extend their risk management presence around the globe to where maybe they don't have existing presence on the ground, to the larger customers that are looking to monitor their programs and really want to know and need to know how is the program being implemented around the world, how is the servicing going, what's going on in their countries where they've got exposures and they need to have knowledge of how the program is coming together to service their needs. And that is really the approach that we've taken as we've looked at this technology and as we'll go in a little bit further as we go through today's presentation. So thinking about what it takes to build a proper global program, we've built the foundation of our international program business on these 5 pillars that you see here that represent the critical needs for clients of all sizes. The first pillar that we think about is the international business excellence, and that's a team of experts that we have in place that provide insights into compliance, regulatory, and structuring issues that are faced by our multinational customers worldwide, and they serve as an invaluable resource not only for us internally, but that's information that we can share with our brokers and our clients as we're putting the programs together. That carries on as well to our international financial management team. And that's a dedicated team that's built to ensure that the movement of monies around the world, whether we're talking about premiums, payments to a reinsurance panel, or claims payments, are flowing as they're expected and the program is working the way it was designed. Jillian talked earlier about the global network and the importance there. It's an absolutely critical thing to have a network in place that can provide the service that our clients need no matter where in the world you're located. The main theme of today's conversation is the technology platform, and you see that there as one of the pillars that we've built everything around. And that really helps to tie everything that we do together. It's built to provide seamless service and information, not only for us to use internally, but to enable us to provide that information in a transparent way to our brokers and our clients so that all 3 parties really have a clear and transparent view of the operation of their program. Another thing Jillian mentioned earlier, and that's the last pillar that I'll mention here, is our people, the people that make all of this work. And we have to have talented people in place dedicated to these international programs so that you know that when you're coming to us asking questions, looking to put a program together, you can rely that we're going to have it done the right way, and what we design for you and for your company's exposures are going to work the way that they were intended. So thinking a little bit more about the technology solution, we've really had the opportunity to build up our international program platform from the ground up. Just in the past few years, as Jillian talked about in the journey that we've been on, that's allowed us not only to use the latest technology that's out there, but combine the skill and the knowledge that our team has built up across a combined decades of experience within the core staff. That solution and the technology that we use is what really binds the pieces of our international programs together. And you see here on this slide some of the key elements of how that works. And we're going to explore each of those in a little bit more detail as we go through. The first one, and one that I like to start with anytime that I'm talking with our broker partners or the clients that we work with, is the program transparency. And this really brings together the three parties of the relationship, which you'll probably often hear called the tripartite relationship. It's the way that we've chosen to do business in a transparent manner so that everybody knows, all three-party knows where we are during each stage of the process. We're committed to that transparency throughout the process, and I think that's demonstrated most vividly through Pulse, which is the client portal that we've built to provide a real-time view of the implementation of our programs. Moving to program structuring, and that's the area, as Jillian mentioned, as a deal architect, I'm most hands-on involved with. That's really the base upon which we build all of our global programs. We've integrated all of the structuring tools that we have together, along with our underwriting and servicing tools, to eliminate the handoffs between different units, provide transparency internally and externally, and also reduce the errors and the rework that go into putting a global program together. Shifting to the knowledge management, that's handled within Swiss Re with what we call the knowledge tool, and that brings together country-specific information, all the way from contact information from the local countries to the ratings of the companies that we use, the lines of business that they can write, and any regulatory requirements that we might come across doing business around the world. This tool, again, is integrated with the remainder of our systems to make sure that we're delivering the fastest and the most accurate information possible so we keep our programs moving along. Thinking about that network and how it works is really the key point of this next part here, and that's the exchange of information. That's a critical piece of any international program, and for those of you who have done them over the years, probably seen that's where things can fall apart when the information being shared is not the same or it's not happening at the right time. We've connected all of our technologies together to enable that information to flow freely around the world for our global programs. This applies whether we're talking about an owned office or one of our partner network, as Jillian mentioned earlier in her section. There should be no drop-off or delay in servicing your program, regardless of where in the world your exposures lie. And the last point that I want to bring up here is the use of integrated wording and how that can help move a program to the next level, how the technology that's embedded within that really allows us to move forward. And that is one of the newest enhancements and probably the forefront of the continuous improvement that we see in the global program space over the last few years. For the property line of business, we've developed a wording that is known as the One Form, and it's built to provide contract certainty and consistent wording issued across all of our most frequently seen countries across the world. In addition to this aspect of the wording, it provides a technological advantage, as in a lot of the countries that have adopted it, this uniform wording allows us to automate the policy issuance, and that reduces the time that it takes us to deliver the policy to you, and it also improves the overall quality and the need for corrective endorsements. Take some time and dive a little bit deeper into a few of these elements that I talked about earlier. And the first that I want to bring up is the International Program Administration Tool, what we know internally as IPA. This platform, it's integrated with our underwriting tools and links the entire program together. It gives us a single place where we can structure, service, and provide oversight of the client's programs. And as you will see as we go through, this really does tie every piece of what we're going to talk about for the remainder of today's discussion together and allow us to view not only internally how the program is working, how it's designed, but also provide you with a view of that for your program as well, so that you have access to the same information at the same time as we do. I talked a little bit earlier about the importance of knowledge management and how we achieve that through what we call the knowledge tool. This tool was built to provide the information that's critical in the structuring and servicing stages of our global programs, all the way from the very earliest stage when the program is first submitted through the quote and bind process and then through post-bind servicing. You see some of the key functionalities of the knowledge tool listed at the bottom of this screen, and that ranges from providing us with key information about the local offices and partners, local regulations that they might have applicable in their jurisdictions, taxes and fees that need to be invoiced and need to be known so that we remain compliant, and information about any insurance regulations that are pertinent for each country where we have a global program in place. Talking again about the network, because it is such an important part of putting together a global program and a place where things can fall apart if it's not done correctly. It really underscores the value that technology has brought to global programs over the past 5 or 10 years. And it's crucial that we're using a strong network of partners. Jillian talked about it a little bit earlier. I know I touched on it as well, but having that strong partner relationship, it's more important in today's world than ever. We're seeing more and more companies reducing the footprint of their owned offices, relying on partner networks, and it's critical that we've built a solid partnership relationship with countries that we're going to do business in where we've chosen to not have our own owned local operation. These partners have to be connected. They have to be committed to servicing your business on our behalf so that we're ensuring that the program that we've designed and put together is working the way that it was intended to work. One way that we do that is through our network partner portal. This system was built to ensure a continuity of service excellence worldwide, regardless of whether we're working with an owned office or one of our network partners. This portal provides a link for us to provide those partners with all of the capabilities that you see here on the screen. And that not only allows us to ensure consistency and quality in the implementation of your program, but it ultimately also flows into the Pulse portal, allowing that same transparency and access to information for our brokers and clients, again, regardless of whether it's an owned office or one of our network partners. And I touched a bit earlier about the importance of contract certainty and the consistency of language being a key principle in the international programs that we design. And how we've developed for the property world the one form, which provides us the ability to have this broad state-of-the-art coverage on an all-risk basis placed in all of the countries where we've seen our clients have the largest concentration of values and the countries that we see come up most often on the programs that we're working. If you've done these international programs for a number of years, I'm sure you've heard the term good local standard. And for a long time, that was as good as you could do. You had a standard local policy. You could maybe sometimes get a country to agree to expand it to match your master as much as they could. But at the end of the day, until a claim happened, there was really no good way of knowing what that local policy covered. And it was something that was a built-in flaw of a lot of global programs for years. And we've seen a change as forms like the one form have been developed For, as I said, this example is for the property market, but you see it in other lines of business as well. It provides that consistent policy wording around the world, providing contract certainty, consistency with the coverages that you have, reducing the potential exposure to DIC, and allowing us to provide comfort and peace of mind for our clients that we know and they know what kind of coverages are being issued locally. From the technology aspect, the real benefit of having this consistent and coordinated wording is that it allows us to automate the policy issuance to a very high level so that we can get those policies issued on the global programs we're putting together within a much quicker time frame than it used to be, either using the good local standard or trying to have a master policy translated and issued into the local language. So it shows once again how international programs have evolved over the years and how we're at the forefront of that evolution in developing technological solutions that can apply across a broad range of customers. I've talked a couple times about Pulse, and that is the portal that really is the external manifestation of the technological solution and the transparency that we're committed to in our international programs. And you've probably seen the rise of these portals in recent years, and really it marks a shift in the landscape of how international programs are handled and the dynamics of that tripartite relationship that I spoke about earlier. I think in today's world, certainly in the large account space, to be a serious participant as a carrier, a portal is almost an essential. But it's not enough to just have a portal in place. It has to be well designed, intuitive to use, and it's got to deliver the information that brokers and clients need when they need it. It can't be just another login and another password that we all have to remember. It's got to provide the right information. And I think, again, that goes back to Jillian's conversation around the journey and the approach that we took, listening to our brokers and our clients about what is needed, how is it needed to be delivered, and what can we do to build the best portal that provides the transparency and gets you the information in your hands when you need it in the format that you need it. And Pulse does that by bringing together all of the aspects of the programs that we put together for our clients, from tracking the issuance of the policies and payments of invoices to a database for your risk engineering information and a living claims database and a tool for sharing information about the program as we go forward. In addition to the information about the performance of the program, we've also been able to leverage the technology and expertise of the Swiss Re Group and provided weather and NatCat exposure information customized for your specific exposures. The tool provides a view of the natural hazard zones worldwide, including wind, earthquake, and flood, in addition to real-time information about active hazards that may impact your exposures around the world. For instance, an earthquake that occurs, a hurricane that's developing in one of the basins around the world, that information can be shared, provided to you, pushed at your request to provide the right information at the right time so you can help manage your program. And Pulse was really designed to be this information, everything that we know about the program, transparently provided to you, put that at your fingertips 24/7, anytime that you want it. And I think it's really one of the most visible success stories in how technology overall has transformed how we do global programs. So we've talked a lot about how different technologies have been put into action and how they've improved international programs in the last couple of years. That technology, however, it's not going to have its desired impact if it hasn't been designed to improve the overall experience of our clients. And clients have to be at the heart of all of these changes that are made and of everything that we're doing around our international program business. And on that journey that Jillian talked about in her opening comments, we asked for and we followed the advice of our broker partners and our clients to ensure that we're building what you need as we blend it together with the experience that we have as we've built this book. The technological solution allows us to meet what I call these 3 R's that you see at the top of the screen. We want to be responsive. We have and will provide the needed information in a timely and accurate manner about your program. Beyond, I think, just being responsive, our aim is to be proactive, to get the information that you need to you about your program before a question even arises. And I think that leads into reliability. So we're reliable. We want to be a valued partner in this international program space. To do that, we know we've got to have the knowledge that's required. We have to be transparent with that information, and we've got to deliver on what's promised. And that delivery really talks about the focus on results. We can leverage technology, we can provide solutions, but we've got to deliver on that. And when we do, when we use this technology that we've talked about, when we deliver what we say we're going to deliver, we'll not only be able to grow our book of business, but we're going to provide a superior product for you. And that's the end goal of all of this. So I've focused a lot of our time today on the structuring and the implementation of our programs. We also want to talk about how we deliver for our clients when they need us the most. And we have Greg Steele here to talk about the intersection of technology and claims and how we've sought to improve that area of our international program business as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Greg.
All right, thank you, Will. The foundation for handling claims is based on the tenets of our corporate solutions claims commitment: to be accessible, responsive, and for there to be no surprises in the claim process. These tenets hold true globally for all our lines of business and business segments, international programs included. Jillian and Will talked about our technology and how the build of international program-specific systems and the integration of those systems provides a true end-to-end experience. And this holds true for claims as well. Enhancements to our claim operating systems have created a single global claim workbench to record and monitor claims. Claim data from our network partners is fed into and integrated with our internal claims to create true global reports, such as loss runs, that show all claims across a program. And the connectivity of systems from the network partner portal through to the client portal, Pulse, allows us to provide that level of transparency our customers seek to manage their claims. It is with the support of these systems that we're able to build processes that are designed to provide a tailored program management approach to claim handling of international programs, with a focus on communication and transparency. When a new international program is bound, our IPA system sends an automated notice to claims management, which triggers assignment of a dedicated claim relationship manager for that program. This role serves three primary functions. First and foremost, he or she will be the lead claim contact for a producing office customer. We appreciate that the complexity of keeping track of claims around the world, and the claim relationship manager is there to assist. So if a US-based customer has a claim in Australia they have a question about, they can have their local Australian entity work with the local carrier. They can deal direct with the local carrier from the US, or they can engage our claim relationship manager, who will coordinate communication to address any questions or issues that might arise. Thanks to system integration, the Claims Relationship Manager will have access to claim status and financial updates on all program claims. Second, the Claim Relationship Manager will handle any claims on their master policy. You have a dedicated claim expert that's familiar with the program and the key contacts involved. And third, the Claim Relationship Manager will provide technical support and settlement authority on local claims that have complexity as a result of coverage or quantum. One of the first tasks of the Claim Relationship Manager is to help set up an implementation meeting with our customer and their broker. This meeting is designed to learn about each other on matters as simple as, how does the client prefer to submit a first notice of loss? Do they have the local entities report direct to the local carrier, or do they prefer centralizing to the producing office? We have our preference on how that works, but we can work to meet the insured's wishes if we know what those are up front. Nominated adjusters. Does the program have one? Do they want one? If there is a nominated adjuster, how is the communication between the insured, the nominated adjuster, and our claim handler going to work? Reporting expectations and sharing of key contacts are other topics that this meeting will help deliver. And these outcomes of these meetings will be documented and shared on Pulse so that all parties will be able to see and refer to them at any time. These conversations help us align on key aspects of claim servicing and build business relationships before that first claim comes in the door. I also want to talk a little bit about our relationship with our network partners. One unique aspect of building our partner network is that claims was directly involved in the vetting process. We had a claim call with the claim management of all of our prospective network partners prior to their appointment. In this call, we learned about their organizational structure. We talked about their experience handling international programs, shared with them our key service level expectations, and exchanged key contact information. After their appointment, a welcome letter was sent to claims management, congratulating them on the appointment, and again, reviewing our key service expectations and providing key contact details. All of this with the goal of developing relationships before the claims come in the door. And Will talked about the knowledge tool earlier. The service level agreements and this intelligence gathered from our network partners in these claims calls are incorporated into the knowledge tool so that when that claim does come in, our teams have access to that information. Now I want to talk a little bit about our service level agreements that we have in place with our local offices and our network partners. First, our standard service level agreement calls for a first notice of loss to be sent to us within 2 business days of the claim being set up at the local office. And the same turnaround time is expected for financial movements, be it a reserve change or payment. We expect this early notification for a couple of reasons. First, this gives us early notification of all claims so we can begin to monitor same and proactively reach out if we have questions. Second, thanks to our integrated systems, the network partner can report the claim via the network partner portal, which feeds directly into our operating systems and ultimately to our client portal. Once again, it gives our customer that transparency to their claims that they desire. We do give our local offices a certain level of authority to direct handle routine claims. We don't want to be a bottleneck for those claims that do not have the complexity to meet direct oversight. And the reporting SLAs that I just talked about give us that basic transparency on those routine claims. We do have authority limits in place to assure that we are aware of and can provide technical support as needed on large and complex losses. And again, that's where that claim relationship manager, as well as our senior global technical claim experts, come into play to provide that level of technical expertise and direction to our local offices. We also mandate that no coverage denial in part or in full be communicated to the client prior to the claim relationship manager being notified and in agreement with that coverage assessment. This is true both for our corporate solutions local offices as well as the network partners. We do this not only to give consistency to our coverage positions, but also to be certain to check all possible aspects of cover, including potential DIC, DIL, or financial interest cover on the master before a coverage position is stated. Again, we want clear communication and transparency of the process. To deliver a message of no cover on a local policy without this review at the program level could lead to confusion and poor communication to our customers, something we obviously want to avoid. Coordinating communication on any coverage issues at the local and master policy level will help assure our customer that we have indeed reviewed all aspects of their program to assure a full program analysis has been taken. We appreciate that oftentimes how a claim is handled can be as critical as the outcome of the claim itself. At Corporate Solutions, our technology provides us the tools we need to be accessible, responsive, and with no surprises in the claim process. Over the past 5 years, the claim function has been an integral part of our capability build for the international programs. We had input into systems build and integration, creating processes and communication protocols, training our staff, and developing our partner network. It's through this end-to-end integration of systems, our people, and our processes that we believe we can provide a unique level of claim service that our customers not only expect, but will appreciate. Thanks for your attention. At this time, I will send it back to Jillian to help facilitate the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Greg. And we have left plenty of time for questions today, and I'm very pleased to say that we already have quite a few in the hopper. So hopefully you have seen throughout our presentation today that technology does underpin the success of an implemented international program. And of course, there are many other factors, the people, the processes, and how that technology is utilized that contribute. So we'll go ahead and take some questions, but of course that's in the background of all of this. So let's open it up for questions. As a reminder, if you do want to ask a question, please type your question into the box at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. We're going to try and get through as many as we can today. If we don't get to your question, we are saving all of the questions with your name and your email addresses, so we'll reach out and answer those questions offline if we don't get to your question. So let's go ahead and take the first question, a pretty straightforward one here. Will you front for an account in which you do not participate on the risk transfer? I'll take that one. At this point in time, we are structured to take advantage and leverage the underwriting side of the equation. And what I mean by that is we will not participate on a pure fronted program. We will always lean on and have underwriting drive the account process in terms of the risk transfer. So we're not going to drive our participation based on if we want to write the international program. So no is the short answer to that. We will not participate on a front for an account that we do not participate on the risk transfer. The next question we have here is in regards to claims. How do you address performance issues with network partner claims? I'm going to go ahead and give that one over to you, Greg.
All right,
remember
thanks,
to unmute
Jillian.
yourself.
Great question. I hope I did. There we go. It's a great question, and it's one we've spent a lot of time on, and we appreciate there's going to be challenges when it comes to claims on an international program. The complexity is there. Our focus is on open communication and transparency with all parties up front to identify emerging issues early and work with our customer and the network partner to address same. And this is where that claim relationship manager role I spoke of early really becomes critical to the communication process. I think there's one other thing, though, that's really unique to Swiss Re that I want to point out as it relates to our relationship with our network partners. The vast majority of our partner network has a long-standing business relationship with our reinsurance division at Swiss Re. So there is already a relationship there and a desire to enhance and continue that level of relationship. And I think that in and of itself is also going to help us so that when there is an issue, we'll be able to work together for the mutual benefit of the customer and for the ongoing relationship that we have, not only as a network partner, but also in the broader Swiss Re context. Finally, you know, the things that we have put in place as it relates to the claim management calls that we had, et cetera, we want to develop that relationship up front so that that communication and transparency that we desire will be easier on both sides, both with the customer as well as the network partner in resolving any issues.
All right. Thank you very much, Greg. The next question we have is, would the master policy be mirrored in the local policy wording so that DIC is eliminated? I'm going to give that one over to you, Will.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Jillian. Yes, it would be when we're using the one form. So as we talked about, the one form was designed to be, again, as a property policy example, broad all risk coverage. That is the master policy that we issue in 13 countries now as our master policy. And when we're issuing locals, there's 20 some countries around the world, and happy to follow up offline with exactly which countries those are. And that does mirror the one form, is translated into the local language as required, issued in English otherwise, and is a mirror of the master on the local policies. Where one form is not in place, we would not typically mirror the policy. It's possible, but we find for most programs it's not necessary to go through the cost and uncertainty that can bring in, and that is where the good local standard protocol are still used.
Great. Thank you, Will. The next question is in regards to Pulse. The question is, does Pulse interact with a Rimma system? This is about Risk Connect in particular. So great question. In general, Pulse, as it is structured today, is not built to interact with a Rimma system. However, we've had many conversations both with clients as well as brokers about the connection that is easily made through an API or otherwise to a Rimma system. Because of the lack of legacy systems that we do have and the forward-thinking, innovative way that we approach solutions like this, we actually have had a pretty good progress on the ability to actually integrate and interact with those Rimma systems. We're not doing it today, but we're not far off from being able to do it if a customer really wanted to partner with us and take that first step. So the short answer is no, we're not integrating today with Rimma systems, but we have heavily evaluated that, and we do think that that is the future. So Will talked a little bit about in Pulse, and I actually own the Pulse team. And one of the things that we've had a lot of discussion and brainstorming about with our customers and brokers is, how do we make Pulse useful to you, or any portal, right? Because there's so many portals out there, as we talked about, to remember the password and all of the information that you're supposed to get from where and how to navigate to do so. So one of the answers that we've come up with continually time and again is to integrate and to take away that step in between where you have to log in separately, right, and to have that integration. So that would be a collaborative approach that we would take because of some security issues, as you can imagine, but we are ready and primed. We absolutely want to be on the forefront of that integration as well. So great question, and thank you very much. We will take another question here. I think, Will, I'll give this over to you. The question is there a maximum limit for a multinational that Swiss Re will not allow to exceed?
Okay, so I can, again, I'll go to property. That is where we would normally see the largest limits. I can say I've been with Swiss Re for about 6 months now. The largest limit that we have provided at this point is $1 billion as a local policy limit. So I would say that is the max that I've seen. Going beyond that, I would say is possible. We've had discussions, but it ultimately wasn't requested by the client. So that would be the answer for what I've seen to date. I would say standard, depending on the exposures, would be from 250 to 500, but it can be larger if the deal requires.
Great. And while we're with you, I'll take a deal architect related question for you, Will. How does the deal architect interact with the underwriter exactly?
Okay, yeah, that's a question I get a lot, and I'll be honest, it's still evolving as I am getting into this role again for the last 6 months or so. But the way that I explain it is my job is to make the underwriter's role to focus on the risk transfer portion of the program, and any issues that arise out of fronting I work with the underwriter and with what we call international program managers who handle all of the operational aspects of our fronting programs to make sure that everything is working the way that we have designed the program, that the communication lines are open between us, the client, and the broker, and work both internally and externally to ensure that the underwriter has the confidence as they're putting the program together, as they're taking the amount of risk transfer that they want, that they're confident the international portion of the program is being handled the way it needs to be. Hopefully that helps answer that one.
Great, I think so. I'll take the next question here. Are you able to place an international program from Mexico, or what country is within Latin America? So the international program structure as we have built it today, and we talked a little bit about on the journey, is very much focused on our core competencies to date. And what I mean by that is where we have the ability both in our resources, so people and processes, as well as the knowledge base, and of course, importantly, the ability to scale. So we're building those competencies now in our producing offices of choice and our producing lines of business. So we've chosen to, again, focus on those to ensure that we are executing impeccably on those before we extend ourselves beyond our skis, so to speak, meaning before we're ready to and potentially make a mistake on a program where we don't have fully dedicated resources. So the short answer to that question is currently international programs are not produced out of Mexico. As a matter of course, I sit on an international program leadership team that takes exceptions. We will, of course, always consider exceptions that are strategically important and very importantly profitable business that we want to engage with on an international program basis. So we are not handling international programs out of Latin America from a producing standpoint to date. Of course, that'll be part of our growth plans in the future, but in the near term, we remain in North America, US, and Canada only. Okay. Another question we have is in regards to technology, so very on point, thank you for that. Does new technology allow you to track local premium payments, allowing immediate central payment to other program stakeholders, such as captive or program participants, rather than having to wait for funds to arrive back in and be identified in the master controlling country? So I'll take this initially, and then Will, if you want to add in, feel free. I would say technology is one of the ways that we think we can support financial management, certainly, to make things more transparent. But the act of local premium payment fronting to a captive program is something that it's not necessarily a technological solution that we're looking at. Now, we are looking at other unique creative solutions to handle that, but the technology really just enables us to reduce that friction rather than make a payment where we don't have the money. The other thing I will say, though, about the solutions that we've seen work here, and I've seen work in my past life, is the implementation of central premium collection wherever feasible. Now, I know some of the carriers in the industry struggle with central premium collection for a multitude of reasons. Here at Swiss Re, we are fully in support of central premium collection. Actually, we've got it on quite a few programs to date, and we do find certainly that that would reduce the delays that we would see in paying captives or program panel participants as you centralize that premium. And of course, we would do so wherever is allowed by local offices. And then, of course, technology would allow that transparency to see into where has premium been paid. Has it been invoiced in a timely manner? Do we need to push or pull on certain aspects to get that moving? But the actual movement of the money, technology wouldn't necessarily play a part in overcoming. Will, anything else to add there particularly?
You know, Jillian, I think you covered the bulk of it. I would say we talked near the end of my part, and I know you mentioned it as well, the Pulse tool, and that's really where I see a difference being made in tracking when payments are received, because that is there in Pulse. And I would say that in the first 30 to 60 days of a program, that's probably the most used section of Pulse, is tracking policies being issued, invoices going out, and then the money is coming back in, so that we can reduce that time to the smallest amount possible. So I think the answer, as you said, Jillian, is kind of yes and no, but absolutely the technology does help us to monitor as that money is coming through.
Great. Okay, another claims question coming for you, Greg. It's a bit of a long question. I'll try to read it and see if I can summarize as well to ensure we understand the intent. Will Swiss Re make it categorically clear in a formal and transparent manner during the renewal stage as to where it will be able to pay claims directly to the insured entity, particularly those that are located in countries where non-admitted insurance is permitted? Greg, is that clear to you as to how the question is formatted?
I believe so. I'm reading through it myself this time, Jillian. Let me just kind of lay the groundwork and see if I'm getting close to answering the question. If not, I'm happy to follow up with whomever asked it. The fundamental process that we have in place is that local claims on local policies will be paid to local entities, and any claim paid off of the master policy will be paid to the master policy holder or the producing office client. That's the standard, most basic, that I think everybody follows. If there is a scenario where the client has a desire that a payment, a DIC, DIL, off of the master get paid direct to the local entity, I believe that's maybe where they're getting to here. In those scenarios where non-admitted insurance is permitted, I think we would definitely be willing to look at that. I think a couple of things that we need to do is make certain that there is transparency to the process and that everybody is doing it with their eyes wide open. We have to make certain that there's no regulatory or compliance issues that may impact that decision. Likewise, there's oftentimes tax implications to consider when you are transferring money from one country to another, from a master to a local country. So I guess the best answer I could give right now, without a significant amount of research into the details, is we're willing to listen to it, and we're willing to sit down and analyze what are the implications of the ask, and if there are no compliant or regulatory implications, and it is something that we can do without any of those issues, I think we should definitely be able to take a look at it. Again, the value of our knowledge tool, then we can input that data into the knowledge tool to make sure that those wishes are understood and followed once they are put into place.
Great, thanks.
I hope that got close to where they were going from. If not, please follow up with me, and I'll research further and try to get a better answer.
Exactly what I was going to say, Greg. Thanks. And of course, there's many questions that we will not be able to get to today, and it is our intention, of course, to answer those offline. I think we have time for one last. Actually, no, we're really running out of time here. Thank you very much for all of your questions and engagement. Really appreciate it. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for being a great audience. We very much appreciate your attention and your questions. We will send a recording in the coming days in case you'd like to listen to it again, or of course share with anyone in your organization. In the meantime, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or anyone on today's presentation with any questions. We'd be more than happy to continue the conversation with you. And finally, we hope that you can attend our next webinars. The first is Unlocking NDBI on June 18th and Climate Change and Secondary Perils on June 24th. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again for attending.